Well, hello everyone. It seems that Astro's made it to the big leagues. Now, not only does he have more than 100 subscribers, subscribe down below, join our Discord server, give Astro your money, it's worth it. But we also have achieved such a high level of cultural significance that someone with significantly more of a following has decided to humor us and give us his attention. For only a moment, Mr. Master Ian Gamer, welcome to the Big Brain Boogaloo, episode number 8.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
This is great. He has, I think, 260 times the subscribers that we do.
Honestly, this is like we're such like babies. Like we're basically fetuses in front of like fully grown adults.
No, please don't think of me that way. I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. To be fair, he's excellent videos. But, I mean, it's not like he has, like, 1 million subs.
Sadly.
So, yeah.
How humbling of you, Astro. Well, anyway, we have our guest here today, and good old Jazz has created a variety of topics to discuss with this kind sir, including a variety of hero reworks that we intend to put into effect once the workshop goes live on all platforms, and also Ian's own schemes of hero creation.
Yes.
So that'll be lovely.
And hopefully we can, maybe we'll have to fight Jeff or something, but we'll get them in the game.
Wrestle with Jeff, prepare for death, mortal.
Oh my god, if Jeff were to wrestle me, that would be over very quickly. Jeff is like 5'10" and scrawny.
Which Jeff? Like
both, I think. They're both like the same size.
Both climb onto each other's shoulders. They're like transform. You know what I mean? Like transform.
Fuse into Super
Ultimate Jeff.
Yeah, the ultimate Jeff.
Or they do like Ferritor in Mortal Kombat X, like one rides on top of the other.
Oh my god.
They're just a tag team.
Anyways.
We're professional.
Yeah, professional, exactly, right? So, I suppose the first thing we should start out with is anyone who is frequent around my little community knows very well who Zavi is and how she oftentimes has questions that she likes to have us answer on the podcast here. And so I suppose we'll just start with the question that Zavi had for Ian, which would be, what is his thoughts on the workshop creation that reworks heroes such as Mercy with Mass Res, Bastion, and others? Also, if they would see themselves playing those types of heroes in-game, and advice they would have for making workshop creations that are both balanced and fun to play.
So you're talking strictly heroes in this question, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of like a multi-parted question.
Yeah.
Mind like breaking it down into maybe separate chunks that I can answer individually.
I feel like this is a theme with Zavi's questions. That's exactly what our guest said last time. Please break down this run-on sentence.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like there are 3 components in that question. I feel like each needs to be addressed individually.
Yep.
Have you done the SAT?
I have in the past.
Then you know how this works.
I know. Okay, so the first one was, what is his thoughts on workshop creations that rework heroes, such as Mercy with Mass Res, Bastion, and others?
Okay, from the stance of, let's see what we can do with these heroes, of course there are tons of different, rework ideas. Obviously, you guys have tons of them you talk about on, your Discord server and your videos and stuff. In terms of using the workshop as a tool to sort of proof of concept these different ideas for bringing back Mass Res, trying out radical changes to Bastion, I think it's a very awesome tool because you can create these proofs of concept and show this is what it would look like in a match if they had this in their kit, if they worked like this. However, I don't think the workshop is going to be an adequate place to test the changes to the degree that we could ever definitively say this is something Blizzard should implement. Because since there's no matchmaking in the workshop, and it's it literally comes down to just getting groups of people and like, okay, I have this like following or whatever, and I've got enough people at this skill tier that we can go in and play a match with Mercy Mass Res and see how it works. I just don't think the workshop is a good enough platform to properly test out changes in like balanced environments that you would get with like a matchmaking system in quick play or competitive. So as for the actual future of any changes which are created in the workshop, I have a fairly pessimistic view on that. Like, I don't think just because somebody creates like a really awesome rework for Mercy and is able to show it in the workshop, I don't think we're going to be able to get enough of the proper testing in the workshop in order for us to, like, so to say, present it to Blizzard and say, hey, look, this works. We should do this. So
Just to bounce off of that statement, is it sort of like the same shortcomings of PTR and also a kind of quick play where you kind of don't know until it's in competitive? Is that kind of...
Yeah, I would say it's a very similar thing, except even worse because it doesn't even have the matchmaking component.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, I think the big value that you could get out of it though is like that if an idea gets popular enough, Blizzard might look into it. But I agree that it's not exactly it's not in of itself a good test platform.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that workshop is a really good idea to show Blizzard what we as a community would actually like to see, even in just balancing heroes, not just reworks or hero concepts we will get into later, but just generally here's what we kind of are drawn to, rather than here's what we want, put this in the game right now. If that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's more of a tester, if that makes sense.
All right. So the next part of the question was if he would see himself playing those types of heroes in game.
Like the heroes people have made in the workshop?
Yeah.
You're talking about original hero concepts that are kind of made through the workshop, or reworks?
Either.
I mean, if it's a new hero in the game, I'll play it. As for whether it's a hero I would play regularly, if we're talking about somebody reworks Mercy or whatever, and Blizzard picks it up and makes it the official Mercy that we get in quick play and everything, maybe. I don't play Mercy normally, so I'm not really inclined to say I would start playing her if they changed her through reworks. Maybe Bastion, because I kind of have a soft spot for Bastion, but still, I'm a tank main, so I wouldn't really play a lot of DPS heroes.
I mean, let's be honest, Bastion isn't actually a DPS. He's a support with a gun.
I saw your Twitter post about that, and I would still consider him more of a DPS.
Alright, fair enough.
When you have a potential 1,400 damage a second,
What?
Yeah, it's kind of...
He does not have that high. Nowhere near.
He fires how many shots per second? 30, and so he has 540 DPS.
450. 450.
450? Okay, that's what it is. 450 DPS. That's still more than any other hero.
Alright, well, that is true. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of down to whatever the hero is, Ian, really?
Yeah, and if people made an original tank hero, and it somehow went to the proper game and quick play and competitive, yeah, I'd try it out. I mean, it would really come down to the hero itself. Is the hero fun to play? Do I enjoy its play style? It would just vary depending. I'd have nothing against playing a hero that was designed in the workshop, as opposed to one that was done in-house by Blizzard. If that's what the question is asking, of course I'd be open to playing a new hero or a redesigned hero. I don't care where it's made.
Yeah,
an interesting question.
And then the last part of the question was advice that he would give for making workshop creations that are both balanced and fun to play.
Well, I guess this comes down to the core ideas for just designing hero concepts in general, which are have a coherent idea for what you want the hero to be and what you want it to do, and simplify, I guess, because the number one rule I've always found when it comes to designing heroes is the simpler, the better. So I guess try to keep it simple.
I know you just put a giant grin on Jazz's face.
Oh yeah, I feel so valid and like I'm ascending.
Is that your philosophy as well?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
You'll see as we continue on, but like I'm one of those girls who are like, the simpler it is, the more flexibility you gain, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
like minor aesthetics, you know.
Yeah,
Jazz is
you know, I think a perfect example of that is like Doomfist, where, you know, Doomfist on paper has a pretty set, like, role, but because his abilities are literally just punch, slam, and uppercut, you can do a million different things with them. So, it has a lot of depth. So yeah, I think that's an excellent answer to those questions. Thank you, Ian, for answering those, and thank you, Zavi, for asking them. I'm sure she will very much appreciate the answers.
Well, I'm happy to offer my insight, I suppose.
So the next thing we're going to be talking about is just the workshop in general. So, Jazz, do you have anything you want to open with?
Okay, so I think now that we have had the workshop for a while now and that we've been able to properly see it for what it is.
We've been able to see it. We haven't been able to play it. Only Ian's been able to play it out of the four of us.
All three of you guys are on console?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oof.
It's a hard knock life.
It's worth
It's
the
definitely
investment
not
to get
fun.
a PC, if you ask me.
Oh,
yeah,
I
and
absolutely.
like, especially for you, like if you actually don't want to like pursue like Overwatch YouTube, you're cursed if you're on console.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some successful like content creators on console, but
Bro, you whack.
I'll be honest. Yeah, he's a really good one that's on console. But I'll be honest, you're working at a disadvantage if you're on console and you're trying to be like a up and coming content creator.
And I would say like I'm probably on the worst of the three consoles or the two consoles because like Xbox has half the population of PS4.
Yeah, like cross-platform like has to happen. Like Sony can suck a dick and like get over it. Like come on.
Like we literally wait like 3.5 minutes for quick play matches.
Oh,
It's
Jesus.
unbelievable.
I didn't know
That's
that
brutal.
It's unbelievable.
Ew. Ew. That's
Yeah,
disgusting.
Top 500 on Xbox is like low GM. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Astro, you poor people. I'm horrified. Oh my god.
But yeah,
We suffer greatly.
yeah. So I mean, we haven't been able to play it yet. I know Ian has though. So, what's the insight that you can give us, Ian?
It's amazing. I'll say that. I mean, just the sheer amount of creativity and ideas that I've seen people put forth in the workshop, even just on PTR, within like less than a week of it being out. Like, I think the workshop is such an amazing platform for the community to actually put into like existence these creative ideas they have for these random different game modes and stuff. Like, as I said, like, for designing heroes, I don't think it's a very efficient tool. When it comes to just, hey, let's try some crazy game mode, maybe it's fun, maybe it isn't. Like, I'm just so happy that we finally have this tool that can let people just try stuff out. Most of the stuff people make is going to be garbage, I'll say that straight up. But there are going to be some amazing game modes which do come through, and I've played a number of those already.
Yeah,
and it's just awesome seeing that the community can do this themselves in the game.
Yeah, I know that like 3 of the ones that I saw or 4 of them actually that I thought were really cool was the Hammond race, which looks fantastic.
Oh, that's so much fun.
Oh, it looks so much. That's the first thing I'm fucking getting.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
The first thing I'm playing.
The other one I saw that I thought was really cool was like Pong with Brigitte.
Oh, okay.
Which one's that?
It's on Oasis University on the Point. So you just
Mhm.
have two brigs on either side with their barriers up, and if a ball passes through either of the choke points on either side of the point, they score a point, right?
Mhm.
And basically, the brigs can only move left to right. So,
Oh, that
s-
sounds so cool.
yeah. So basically, you have to move to bounce the ball back and forth.
Ah, I see. Okay, fair enough.
I haven't heard of that one, but that sounds pretty cool.
It is very cool. Another one I
What were
thought,
the other two?
the other one I thought was really cool
Sorry, what were
was
the other two?
it was, I think they called it Roadhog Volleyball or something like that. Where basically you have these two circles on either side of the point of the center of what's it called, Castillo, and basically the Roadhogs try to hook each other into their side of the map, and when you're on the enemy's side of the map, you're on fire. So like you're gradually taking damage.
Mhm.
So it's like, so I guess it's more like tug of war actually, where you're trying to get you're trying to get the enemy team into your area so that they take damage until they die, basically.
Okay.
Ah.
Which I thought was also very cool. And then the last one that I thought was just astounding was someone managed. It was on the shrine part of Busan, and basically they locked the camera in such a way, and they locked the movement of the characters in such a way, and they disabled a lot of the cooldowns in such a way where basically they created Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I've seen some like Smash Bros like servers. I haven't played on any yet though, but I've seen them. They look very intriguing, and I'm interested in trying those out at some point.
It looks super cool, and I loved this one where it was like you had Reinhardt fighting Doomfist in a Smash Brothers style. It was very cool. Yeah, those were the 4 big ones that I saw that actually just blew me away. Are there any others that you've seen, Ian, that you found intriguing?
I'm in particular a fan of like the Ghost Hunter or like Monster Hunter ones, where you have like a set of heroes with like weird abilities, and then like McCree and Soldier, very generic like hit scan heroes, and like the hunters have to just like hunt the monsters or the ghosts. I don't know, like there's something that's so like entertaining about that to me, like the idea of these two teams fighting each other and one just being a bunch of weird monsters. I don't know why I like that, but
they all may.
Is this the one with all the soldiers and the reapers and the? Is that the one you're talking about?
Oh, that's the zombie mode. That's another good one. That's not the one I'm talking about, but that is another good one as well. I don't know if you've watched any of my Workshop Weekly series.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen all of them so far.
Okay, well, in the first episode, I did the Ghost Hunters one, and that's like basically what I'm getting at. Like the ghosts are just like invisible, and they have to sneak up on the other people.
Yep.
I don't know. Those ones always just are so much fun because I feel like those are game modes we can tell that just like everyone playing it is just like having a real good time, and they're like yelling at each other in chat, like "How the hell did you hit me?" and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You know,
it's just so much fun.
You know, as an Xbox player, what it really reminds me of is, you know, back in the days of like Halo 3, where where everyone was in custom games playing these wacky modes. You know, like there was all sorts of crazy stuff like that, and this is what, you know, really reminds me of that, which is so fun because it's been so long since I've been able to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Personally, I think the best, other than the obvious of like the Hammond race, is I can't remember the name of the mode, but it was essentially a Mario type platformer on Busan. So basically, it's the exact same. The game is exactly the same, except the camera is to the side and you're fighting people.
Yeah, it's the Smash Bros.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I haven't played Smash Bros, so like I don't know. Well, I feel like a fool.
Yeah, I just edit it out in post.
You say that,
God,
but I am
that would be-
totally not going to.
Yeah, Jai's exposed. Jesus Christ.
But
I mean, it's not the first time I look like a fool on this fucking platform. Anyway,
to be fair, you oftentimes sound like the smartest of the three of us. So
Yeah, that's true. And like also, I mean, like on episode 2, I think that I fell to Godwin's law. So like, you know, like everybody makes mistakes.
yeah, pretty much.
in fairness, I am also in mega pain right now.
That's true. You have a lot of back pain right now.
So I'm doing my best.
No, I mean you're the one who always gets the investigation in the notes and stuff like that. So,
But anyway. Oh,
um,
I think what Workshop kind of proves is this community is very, very good at entertaining themselves.
yes.
Yes.
I also think that like what it really proves is that this game, it belongs to the community just as much as it belongs to Blizzard. And I know that Blizzard has always said that, but it's been a long time since they've done that, basically.
Since it's felt like that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Because for the
I
longest
definitely-
time, this game has felt like it's only belonged to, like, you know, competitive players.
I think what I kind of like really wish they would have brought this out during the huge dry spell we had at the very end of 2018,
Mm-hmm.
where we went through this very long gap of like nothing really happening and nothing really changing. I really wish this kind of came out around then, because oh man, do you like honestly like the kind of boredom people kind of felt would have been really eradicated
Yeah.
with the help of Workshop.
Yeah. No, I have
I
to.
really feel like
Yeah, I have to say the timing of them releasing the workshop is very bizarre, because they're releasing it at like one of the most active times of the
That's what I
Overwatch
was-
year.
that's what I was thinking as well. Like they're hitting us with a lot of like stuff all at the same time, and it kind of feels like feast or famine.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not sure
Yeah.
whether they're releasing it now because they want everyone to be looking at the game, so they'll actually see the workshop. Because everybody's coming in for archives and anniversary soon, and then they'll see, oh, this workshop, this looks cool, and they'll try it out. Whereas if they had released it in like January or whatever, nobody would have seen it because maybe the workshop itself wouldn't have been able to like make headlines, so to say.
Really? I think this has honestly made way bigger headlines than any event.
Well, I think it's by far it's one of the most like outstanding features that has ever been added to the game. I'll say that. But it just like if you just think of like the casual person, like if they just like catch like a post on Twitter or something talking about the workshop, they might just think, "Oh, what's this? Just an upgrade to the like custom games?" They might not realize what it is, and
That's
then they
true.
would have missed
okay.
it. And now I don't know if that was Blizzard's strategy or not. That's just me speculating.
I mean, I'm thinking
Oh.
it probably had more to do with just the fact that it was done.
I mean that too.
That's sort of what I'm
yeah,
thinking.
it really could have been as easy as that. As like, oh well, it's done now. Give it to
Yeah.
the people.
Because I mean, if you remember in the dev update, Jeff basically said that, yeah, this has been in development for a while, and it started when, you know, two of these staff members, like two of our programmers, basically came up to us and said, "Hey, we don't have much to do. How about we just make this?" And Jeff apparently just kind of shrugged and said, "Sure."
Right.
So, you know, I don't think they had like a whole lot of, you know, structure behind this.
Could I actually quickly ask, was this the mode Jeff was talking about all the way back in spring last year? Or is that a different mode? I can't remember for the life of me if he's
Are you talking
confirmed that.
about like
This is one of the things he was referring to a while ago, but we don't know how far back.
Because remember
yeah,
the announcement
is this the
he
long
made? He
elusive
said,
social feature?
okay.
But
Okay.
I'm wondering if it is. I don't know.
I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure the social feature was guilds, but they've since gone back on that. Because if you remember at BlizzCon 2018, they basically just flat out said they were working on guilds for Overwatch, but then they decided to push it to the level of being like across all of Blizzard's games, which I think would have been a smart decision. And like that seemed to imply that the third social feature was going to be guilds, but then they changed their plan for what they were going to do with it. And then during Archives, Jeff basically says, we're not doing guilds anymore because we can't find out how to make it work in a way we like. So that's my understanding of like the timeline and what has like happened and what that social feature was. And
well, what about this 222 thing? I think that might have something to do with it.
I don't know if that would be considered a social feature though.
No, that hasn't been in the works for too long. That's only been in the works since esports dude mentioned it, right?
That's true.
That's what, like 3 months?
No, actually, it was before that because Jeff was saying we're thinking about the logistics of 222.
Well, they're thinking about the logistics. They weren't doing it.
Well, that doesn't mean like he said he was figuring it out. That doesn't like necessarily mean
maybe
they were. If that makes sense.
But I feel like
they might have been doing it, or
I feel like Blizzard's style.
Well, now they're doing it, so
yeah,
great.
Blizzard's style though is sort of like, they think about things for a long time, and then they finally actually do it after a long time. That's sort of what I noticed.
Yeah, pretty much.
They let it ferment.
Yeah, they let things ferment.
Kind of like wine, you go.
Oh god, yeah, pretty much. So yeah, that's the workshop. It sounds absolutely incredible, the stuff that we'll be able to pull off once it gets to console, and I'm very excited to work with it, even though I've never programmed anything in my life. It will be very, very rough, I'm sure. But luckily I have a whole server of people who can help me, and I have Zavi who can help me here and there. But
a whole server with one brain cell. It can
well, actually, no, I'm talking about another one. This one that I sent to Ian, that Zavi sent me. It's a Shrew's Discord.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's basically dedicated to the workshop and like programming in the workshop.
Oh.
So maybe I'll send you guys the link to it afterwards, and I might put it in the description.
My monkey brain can't like deal with this on my own. I just know I'm just gonna end up deleting Overwatch.
Yeah, I know, right? Same.
But
yeah, it's very exciting. This new tool that we have been granted. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is why and how we make concepts and how the workshop can help with that. So, I suppose...
All right, cool.
I suppose, Ian, you are the master of the concepts. So, why and how do we make concepts?
I mean, I guess it all stems from the fact that there just simply aren't enough heroes in the game. So we as the community have taken it upon ourselves to try and add them. But not really, because Blizzard's not actually going to add a fan concept. But I think that's where it stems from. Yeah. And then for me, I just like coming up with characters, and just thinking of like taking a character, like an existing character, like Junker Queen or whatever.
Exactly.
And then thinking, how would that character work in game as a hero? Like, what sort of interesting mechanics could work for this hero to maintain their identity and also fit within the environment of Overwatch and all those different things.
It's very interesting you say that, because the first thing that I noticed when I first came across your channel, Ian, was I looked at all the concepts that you were making, and I went, wait. And I went through my files, and I found a concept I had made for every single one of those characters as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, that is awesome. Finally, someone else is doing this. So that was sort of what got me interested in your channel.
You're actually a very shockingly rare breed within, the Overwatch kind of news atmosphere, Ian. In which you actually come up with ideas and ways of how you would personally better the game, be it little social features or straight up hero concepts.
You don't just regurgitate what comes out of Jeff's mouth.
Yeah, you actually put in so much genuine effort in, like, here is like what I would really love to see within this game and what I really think they should focus on, and like it's actually very admirable.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, thank
exactly.
you.
So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
I remember thinking it was so cool, because I saw the Junker Queen concept, and I saw that you had made her like a mech sort of tank, or at least in her ultimate. Like, I thought it was very cool, and what I thought was specifically very cool about it was that just how different two people could make a kit for the same character.
Yeah, I get that a lot when it comes to Junker Queen.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think she would be a support. So.
Because I think, I looked at what you had done. I thought it was really, really cool. And then I looked at mine, and mine is my concept for Junker Queen is very much based off of like action RPG games, where it's like you have a stamina bar, and you have like a giant axe that you swing around, and she has like parries and sword play character.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've seen yours. You'll have to link me to that at some point.
Yeah, I will. Basically, my whole idea was like the entire idea behind what I thought I would make Junker Queen was I saw the picture of her, right? And although you can hardly see what it is, you see that axe that she's holding, right? Just the bottom of it. And the first thing that came to mind was it looked, because it has like the electrical stuff all over it, because it has like the generator on the handle, and I thought to myself, that very much reminds me of a weapon from Dark Souls that I really love, called the Dragon Slayer Great Axe, which is basically this giant slab of iron on a stick that shoots lightning. So, and I basically thought to myself, what if there was a hero in Overwatch that was basically a Dark Souls character with the Dragon Slayer Great Axe?
That's a cool idea. Like, now that you're like saying it, like, yeah, I like that as like a concept. I think there's potential there, certainly. Like another sort of melee-based character, but not in the same way as like Doomfist.
Yeah.
Brigitte, it's more of like a swordplay sort of style.
And
I think that's a cool idea.
Akin to how Genji should kind of be if in his ultimate, if that makes sense.
Well, it's actually very akin to how Genji was in development.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because Genji originally was a sword-based character.
Ooh. I didn't know that.
It was only after they split up Genji and Hanzo that he became more of a ninja and less of like, I guess, how would you say it? Like, I've been playing too much Sekiro. What are a shinobi? Like more of a, because originally he was much more of like a shinobi, and then they split, which is like kind of the midway between a samurai and a ninja, and then they kind of split it into Hanzo, who's more of a samurai, and Genji, who's more of a ninja. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought the whole development was that I knew that Genji and Hanzo were the same character, but I thought Genji was essentially Hanzo, but in Genji's skin, and then they just split up the two concepts. Oh, all right.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair,
you learn.
The hero's name was originally Hanzo.
Ah.
But then they just split them up and named one of them Genji.
Jesus, this is complicated. Like, oh, God.
To be fair, this also explains why Genji has so much character and Hanzo has practically none. Because
This is a topic I love discussing.
Because
it's incredible too, because like both of those characters, they originate from the same source, but they're kind of like, I mean, at least Hanzo's sort of like one of those dry, Christian communal wafers. Yeah, like he's just like he's bland, he's atrocious, and nobody, not even God, likes him. So like it's a pretty rough place to be, Like, and I mean, I know, like, I'm a homosexual. I'm used to all the gods hating me. But something that repeatedly shocks me is how universally every single creator being that has ever been conceived of by a human just looks at Hanzo and says, "Wow, like you have not once ever been fun to play against, and you not once have ever been fair. And also you're bland." He does look good in a suit, though.
He does look good in a suit, though. That's fair.
I've never seen, like, legitimately, everyone just started bullying Hanzo.
No, I just think it's a very interesting explanation, basically, for why, basically Hanzo only exists as a plot point for Genji.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing to
Yeah.
myself because we started talking about workshop and then we instantly went to Hanzo sucks.
Hanzo sucks.
What are your thoughts and opinions on concepts and creating concepts? Hanzo sucks. Eat shit. Eat shit.
But yeah, pretty much.
Eat shit and puke, Hanzo.
But yeah, I think the reason we make hero concepts is basically because.
Oh, and you wait, Astro, because like as soon as that fucking thing comes out, you're gonna see I'm gonna fix Hanzo right quick. You'll see exactly what I can do to him.
Just he's not in the selection menu anymore.
Oh no, he will be. He will be. So
Just
the thing about Hanzo is that like I think that Dragon Strike clearly isn't powerful enough to be an ultimate, so it should probably be on a cooldown.
Oh dear God. Not this again.
Oh god.
But yeah, I think the reason we make reworks is kind of just because Blizzard leaves a lot of spaces open for characters, and they release them very slowly. And sometimes we get a character, and it's not even relevant to what is like happening in the game. Which, to be fair, is understandable. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's understandable. Because
don't get me wrong.
sometimes you should go with what you creatively feel invested in instead of what the game necessarily needs at the moment. Sometimes that makes a better character than just making something that just fixes a problem. Brig.
Yeah, we all remember how that played out. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So
they're trying to avoid that as best they can. Just
Yeah.
to avoid like a hero completely solving one issue that isn't even a big issue, if that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, I don't think you. I think that Baptiste is sort of a hero who, in many ways, helps with goats, but he doesn't just straight out stop it like Brig did with Dive, which I like. But yeah, I mean, I think the reason we make hero concepts is very simple. It's just that people are creative. Blizzard leaves room to be creative, and doesn't listen to us, so we continually are creative.
Right. Yeah, I think in my original response, I kind of implied more that it was like Blizzard's fault for not having enough content. But it's
Yeah.
absolutely a huge component where people are just creative. Like, I just like coming up with characters. Even if the game felt balanced in terms of like the number of heroes it has, I'd still enjoy coming up with new characters and
Yeah,
like
exactly.
abilities and stuff.
Exactly.
So
I think Blizzard needs to remember that the original backbone of Overwatch is that it has a hero for everyone, basically. And so, there's a lot of heroes in the game
Or at least
already.
tries to.
What?
Or at least tries to.
At least tries to, yeah. And I think that there's already a lot of great characters in the game that people are drawn to. But I do think there are some, especially in like the gameplay department, I think there are heroes that lack, things that people might be drawn to. Like, for example, a swordplay character, or I know that a lot of people really, really liked Sim's lock-on beam. Like, that was very helpful for a lot of people. But it's just sort of a matter of making characters that people both are attracted to and like want to play, and characters that can function in like a competitive environment.
Hashtag jazz for Hero 31.
Yeah, make Jazz a hero.
Just-
The
What would
ultimate.
your abilities be?
Well, it's very.
I already have a
Pardon?
concept for this.
It's very simple. Her ultimate, she just pulls out the bottle of vanilla ice cream
vanilla
Liquor.
ice cream alcohol.
alcohol and just and just passes out. That's the ultimate.
I essentially I cry. I tell people that they're really great, and I drink.
And she has
those are my
plants.
abilities.
She has lots of
Wow.
plants.
I'm a very sad person. Please
Lots
don't.
Lots of plants. Many plants.
Yeah, I'm sure we could find a way to work that into the game.
Oh yeah.
Next day, Ian comes up with a new concept for me.
Yeah, right.
Don't speak too soon.
But speaking of that, we should just move on to Ian's hero concepts because there are many of them and they are all very cool. So, here we go. We have Ian's hero list.
I think I'm missing one. I'm not sure. I don't think
are.
I am. Tits.
one?
Who am I?
The support engineer.
Oh, right,
God
the
damn
Junkertown
it.
one. The one from yeah.
Don't worry, that's an older concept. It doesn't really matter.
All right, so we
Okay,
have
I don't feel as bad then.
we have Sanjay, who I would note I also made into a tank hero.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
You
do you think
both
he should
did
be?
that to Sanjay? Sorry, but don't touch my brown hair like that. Like, sorry, he belongs to Queen Symmetra. He's got to be thin. He's got to be fine. He's got to make
He is.
beautiful little water dispensers.
To be
I don't know
fair,
about that.
to be fair, basically my idea was that I just put him in a giant hard light suit, so you can physically see him in it. He's like it's like a Gundam almost.
Okay.
But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I
actually
mean,
really cool, though.
yeah, and basically my idea was like he had like when he puts down his barrier, he becomes stationary, but his barrier is fucking enormous. And it has like a metric ton of health, like 5,000 HP or something. Yeah. So let's see. First we have Sanjay. Ian, you're the creator. If you could quickly go over these wonderful
I
creations of
basically-
yours.
I did my best to summarize them as
Yeah.
coherently as I could.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. Just want me to summarize the heroes and
Yeah,
the
and
ideas behind them.
And I'll put up links to the video for each one in post edit.
Okay. So Sanjay is based around the idea that we need more barrier tanks in the game. But how do you introduce a new barrier that's not just a variation of Reinhardt's or Risa's or Winston's or Brigitte's? And I came up with the idea. Well, I'm definitely not the first person to come up with this, but I put together an idea where the barrier is like a bridge, like something from Portal 2, like the hard light bridges, which can span across a set period, or a set area, I should say. And it can be used horizontally as a bridge or a ramp to traverse across gaps, get up to higher elevations, or it can be positioned vertically to block incoming enemy fire. Now, the actual semantics of that ability, as I'm sure you know if you watch the video, are very complicated.
Yes.
Like almost to the point where I wasn't sure I'd actually be able to make it work. Because as I said, the simpler the better. And I wasn't sure I could simplify it enough to make it work. But I feel like this is a sort of instance where the actual mechanics behind it in game are simple in that it's simple to understand if you see it being used.
Yeah.
Explaining the limitations of it is where it gets complicated.
Yeah.
But it's if you spent 10 minutes playing around with it in the practice range, you would understand how it works and what it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember watching the video and thinking that the idea was really, really cool, and that, I think it would be a really interesting new addition, but that the way to do it is very complicated and that it probably wouldn't actually work on console because of, the limitations with the controls.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a risk. Like, because it's not as easy to, I guess, just like snap around and like whip around to like place the two endpoints if you're using like a joystick or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's unfortunately one of the aspects where, like, I maybe there is like a better, more efficient way to do it. I was unable to come up with one for the video. You know, maybe this is something that in the future I'll revisit if I get some like better ideas on how to improve the barrier mechanic or improve the hero overall. Like, I'm not against revisiting hero concepts.
Yeah.
If I could come up with like really good improvements to them. It's a difficult. Like, the barrier was a difficult thing to get to work in like a very tangible way.
I think one thing that, just as a piece of advice I think you could do is, like, instead of having to place like all the points, right, you just place 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you place...
There are only the 2 points. There's the center points of each edge.
Center points of each edge. Oh,
right. See, now I'm having to explain it without visuals.
No, I mean, like, so, you know, you have like 2 corners of a rectangle, right? Where it's like they're diagonal from each other.
Oh,
right?
I see what you mean.
So you just place one, and then you drag it, and then you place the other, and then it just creates a rectangle.
Okay, that'd be an interesting way of doing it. The problem I think I would have with that is you can like make it like really tall and skinny, and I feel like, I don't know. This is something like I'd have to think about, you know, I guess, analyze.
Yeah, the thing I would argue with that is like, so what if they can do that? You know?
Right, but like the idea is, like, because they had it like it was stuck at like the y-axis when you're placing it vertically. I remember that. And the reason for that was to just simplify and make it very quick to just point A, point B, barrier is there.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could just do point A on like the wall, and then you want it to span in this set area, you just whip over and to just see where like the blueprint would like line up with like the angle you want, and then just click again. You don't have to like pinpoint, oh, this is the exact height I want, this is the exact, you know, like angle I want.
Yeah.
It's just a snap, barrier is there. Because I feel like anything slower than that would just make it too clunky to place and therefore be fairly worthless in a lot of situations.
Well, if I may make a suggestion, what if it just snapped to geometry?
So you'd only place like 1 point, you mean?
Well, no, I mean, like, you know, you could place it midair if you wanted to, but like, it would snap to certain points of geometry. Like, so, you know, it would snap to the top of a wall, and then you could just drag it maybe to another point or to somewhere in the air or on the ground, and it's just there.
Well, I mean, it already sort of it was already designed where it had to be touching to physical map objects.
Oh, that's right.
It can't be freestanding unless you're placing it on the ground, in which case then half the barrier is just in the ground.
That's right.
So there's only certain situations that would even be useful then.
Yeah, okay, that's true. But yeah, I think the Sanjay concept you made was very interesting. I remember watching it over and over and over again and thinking this would be really cool and a nightmare to balance.
Yeah. I mean, I will admit, like, I'm not the best person when it comes to balancing the concepts.
Yeah.
Because fair. Again, that's something that takes like actual in-game testing.
Or like, Zek, because Zek has all the math.
Yeah, if you're a math wizard, I'm sure you'd be better at it in that regard than me.
Here's the Here's a very important thing when you're an outsider looking at concepts, looking at someone's concepts, and that, like, you're only hypothesizing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way for you to, unless you get the workshop.
The workshop, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
But even with the workshop, I would say it just can't. It's not
difficult.
Good enough at testing. That to some degree, it's like a cool. It's helpful, but not really helpful enough, if you ask me. Anyways.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But it is essentially like you are only hypothesizing, but it's the effort that like counts and like the concepts that really matter, except rather than like specific maths when a concept is being presented, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like an important way to look at when you're looking at from the outside of like someone else's concept.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say.
All right, so next we have this Phoenix character, which I remember. I remember also watching that video and thinking to myself, "What? This is exactly like my Kindler character."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to link me to all your concepts because I'm interested in reading through these now.
Yeah, absolutely. Except mine wasn't a tank hero. Mine was like it was like the same as like Briggs' health pool.
Okay.
And it was basically just like entirely based around melting armor and shields. Basically, like he did less damage to health, but he did a lot more to like other kinds of
Seems
health.
a little bit extra now, a little bit overkill.
Yeah. To be fair, I made this back when defense characters were still a thing.
Holy
Only
shit.
90s kids. Only
Yeah.
90s kids remember.
And that was like a year ago at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. Even more, I think.
Shit, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh god, I'm a year older.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But I also thought it was very funny because I also had the idea of like a smoke screen for him, which I thought, and so whenever I looked through it, I was like, this is just too perfect. And then you released Phoenix before Ash, didn't you?
No.
Okay.
Phoenix was right before Baptiste.
Okay.
You used dynamite as a example.
Oh,
As a
right.
reference
When
for
you were
how the
talking about
burn
the
effect
burn
would work.
Right. Okay. But yeah, I thought this was super cool. So if you could briefly give us a description, Ian.
Yeah, so Phoenix is a bulky tank Omnic, roughly the same size as Roadhog. And he has a short-range AoE flamethrower as his primary fire, which ignites enemies. And he's basically all about like getting right. He's like a brawler where he wants to be at close range, taking damage, because his other abilities sort of rely on him to take damage. Like
I know. I love this. His
passive is whenever he takes damage, he emits flames around himself in a short ring, and then that has like a cooldown. So only happens like once every 4 seconds. I forget what exactly.
Yeah, it was 4.
And so yeah, he basically just wants to get in there and take a bunch of damage and stuff. And then he has what is by far his most controversial ability, which is the ability to basically enable like a self-resurrect, so that if he like dies during like a 2-second window, which he activates, then he'll just resurrect with like full health and explode.
I thought this
in the
shit
process.
was the coolest.
Yeah, I'll be honest, this hero concept leaned more towards a super badass character that I wanted to make, as opposed to what I think would actually work in the game.
Yeah.
This definitely has some problems where I think it would need to be tweaked a bit if it were to actually be introduced. But this was me just wanting to make a cool character that's just like this evil man-hunting Omnic, basically. Yep. You know, like X Null Sector resurrected by Talon, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe that self-resurrect is hard to balance at all. And I have a brief anecdote to talk about why. This has to do, obviously, with Mortal Kombat, but in a previous Mortal Kombat game, there was a character that would resurrect after every round, and it wasn't a problem because it would consume all of your resources. I don't think that, like, putting a 2-second I will resurrect is a problem, especially if it consumes all charge. Like, you could even probably fully heal if you consume a bit of all charge. Like, that probably wouldn't cause any problems.
That's a concept I've heard a lot, where it's like an ability that consumes part of your ult charge. I feel like you could do a lot of things with that.
I've used that in a lot of my hero concepts, especially my personal self-hero concept meme, which I'm sure you remember.
I remember it very well.
Like, consume their own his own alt charge to protect himself from damage, which is like pretty cool. But.
That's cool, yeah. Like, management-based characters are so much fun. I also just loved, like, kind of the visualization of Phoenix, where basically you just shoot at this guy and he has the gas canisters are just like going crazy. You just have flames spewing everywhere. I was like, oh my god, it's like something out of Gears of War. Like,
yeah,
That was
It reminded me very
so
much
cool.
of Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes,
like
exactly.
like
There
a
was some
personification.
Like he just charges in Valhalla, just explodes and kills everyone.
Oh,
Like straight up, when I was watching this video, I was like, my wig flown to China. Like I was so scared.
Yeah.
I was like,
and I also,
if I saw this thing, I'd be screaming.
I know,
I'd be
right?
actually terrified.
And I also
straight
love
up terrified.
I also love the ultimate because it's identical to the one I had for Kindler.
Oh, really? Just
Yeah.
a big field of fire?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I thought it was a super cool concept. That I think that's probably my favorite one out of all of them.
Really? Okay. It was a very fun
one-
one to make, I'll say that much. It was very
This one
fun.
makes me the most fearful, like, for my life. Like,
And that's the point. He's supposed to be terrifying. Like, he's
Oh,
this
God.
monster.
Like he's like Roadhog, but metal, like made of metal. Like
Yeah, it's like Roadhog, but suicidal and a machine.
he's a thick metal boy. Like it's just he just gets in there and burns shit.
me.
It's exactly what I would love to play. I don't like characters that are like kind of. I don't like my characters like sort of like, yeah, you know, they're kind of wishy-washy with whether they're gonna engage or not. No, I want a guy who's gonna run in there and wreck shit.
Yeah. That's definitely Phoenix, and that's pretty much how I designed him. This sort of fantasy of just
Actually,
running in there and tanking everything.
Yeah, exactly.
actually, just pointing it out, I actually am not surprised that you are a tank. You said a tank main.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because like legitimately, all of these are like somewhat tank heroes. Even Junker Queen, who we'll get to in a second, is like a tank hybrid, essentially.
Yeah, the only hero you left off, the support engineer,
It's the
like that was the support. But that's whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, we do have Junker Queen.
I'm hardworking.
We do have Junker
It's
Queen,
alright.
and I think your concept for Junker Queen was very interesting. So if you may summarize for us, Ian.
Okay. What would be the best way to summarize this? Basically, a screaming bard.
I love that.
That's the exact description I put in like a few episodes back.
Oh,
about
really?
this. Yes, like a
Yeah.
really angry bard.
Yeah, basically. I mean, she's just this super like just screaming at her allies, because I love the idea of like an anti-Lucio.
Yeah, I was just
Lucio
gonna
is
say.
like playing cool music, like, "Hey guys, let's work together as a team.
And then,
Yeah, we're gonna win." And then the queen comes in and it's like, "Get to work!" and just screaming at these people, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll do it.
I almost, you know, when I heard your Junker Queen concept, I almost thought it would be like very fitting. You know how Lucio has like the, you know, whenever you're near him, you know, he has the music, right? I feel like whenever you're near Junker Queen, it should be like those trucks in Mad Max with the guy on the front with the guitar and the flamethrower. Whenever you're near her, it's just death metal music.
Yeah. Well, that was the that's what I gave to her ultimate, the mech. The
Yeah.
mech, I don't remember if I specified it in the video, but that was directly inspired by the doof wagon from Mad Max. It's just big machine with loudspeakers is playing heavy metal, just rallying everyone.
That's fantastic.
It's such a cool idea. I love it. I'm a huge fan of Mad Max, by the way, if you haven't picked up.
Yeah, no, I
Oh,
understand.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's the best concept. Just angry Lucio. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Oh,
Do you
that's
and I
think
feel
she
like-
fantastic.
says? Do you think she like violently abuses Hanzo like we do? Like, yes, sir!
She violently abuses everyone, and it's no exceptions.
Yo, actually, wait, I haven't seen this concept yet, but does she have one of, like, a taunt ability where she, like, insults an enemy and, like, makes them deal less damage or whatever?
She does not. All her stuff is basically supportive for her team. I did toy around with the idea of like an offensive taunt, but I didn't end up putting it in her kit.
You suck!
I wanted to sort of like narrow her into being more of like a support, and I
Yeah.
felt like being a support, especially with how I was designing her, had to focus on like helping her team. So it was one of those cases where I didn't want her to do too much.
Yep.
And so like
That's
I had
fair.
originally planned for some sort of like offensive thing where you like shout at an enemy and then like that does stuff to them. But that just felt, yeah, I felt like I couldn't fit it in effectively.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Mhm.
So let's see. Then we have Demon, which I thought was a very interesting concept. I thought the idea of the tempo shield was incredibly interesting.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
how you can tap, you can add on more shields over time and like almost build off of your own shields. I think it was very interesting.
Okay, so yeah,
how-
this is another situation where it was like pressing the limits of being too complicated.
I
The
feel
way
like
the shield works with like the shield health and like the barrier. And
yeah,
everything.
but I feel like when I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, it's complicated, but it's complicated in like the Zarya sort of way, where it's, you know, as soon as you like actually read what it does, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's not hard to do mechanically; it's just complex, like with what it does.
Right. Yeah,
So-
I mean, I guess that's the best way of putting it.
And I guess as I've said, I also have the philosophy of like simpler is good, but I also have but at the same time I have this idea of like it's okay for a hero to be complex if it flows well, right? If it's not
Right.
a disjointed mess, you can have a hero that's pretty complex and still have it feel good and flexible, because
Right.
it's not like you're doing a million different things.
Yeah, so there's like actually this quote, which I don't remember who said it. It's probably just a random person on Reddit who doesn't even remember that they've said it. But it's basically, a hero should be as simple as possible while still being able to perform the job they're designed to perform.
Yes.
And like that just seems like the best like core philosophy for heroes. Like just cut out everything extra that's not needed. Just make it as simple as it possibly can be while still being able to do what the hero is supposed to do and being fun and all that.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a good philosophy. It's one that definitely has proven to work. But yeah, I think Demon is a very interesting character, because I remember watching the video and just kind of like thinking to myself, this character would be so game changing, but in like a very positive way. Like this is a character that I would love to see in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that like I really like the reason why I love the stacking of the shields is simply because it's a different way. It's like a very common thread throughout all of these heroes, specifically the tanks. Is like it's a different way of protecting and being a tank, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
For your team.
That's one of my favorite things to try to come up with is alternate tanking methods, because it's pretty hard to come up with like unique new tanking methods that don't already exist in some form, but still would like work in the
Yeah.
scope of Overwatch.
Mm.
So yeah, Demon was
think-
very much like me trying to like hybridize the idea of like a barrier with like shield health and using shield health as a tanking mechanic.
Mhm.
So
Right.
And I specifically like that because it's she's kind of again another tank support in the case of like maybe Zarya, as Astro kind of put it, is that like she tanks by supporting others, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
right.
I think
sorry, go ahead.
oh no sorry, I think it's a very like unique way of going about it, and it also brings back shield generator kind of,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, like which is an
Yeah.
ability I kind of do miss, I won't lie, like sometimes.
Yeah.
Even though I am an avid supporter of Symmetra's right now is at her best, but I do miss shield generator simply because it was just so handy. It just wasn't flexible. But this is kind of makes up for the reason why shield generator wasn't really working within the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was too stationary. That's why.
Mm,
He was too static.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was probably the biggest issue with it, just immobility.
mm.
And
So I think this kind of it brings back the concept, but kind of ditches the huge con of it, if that makes sense.
you know, I think
Yeah.
I think like an even better comparison would sort of be like, it's almost like a miniature sound barrier in many ways, right?
Yeah, that'd be another very good comparison.
Because it's like
How
you
it works.
grant shields, like temporary shields, to an ally. So I thought those are the two things I really thought of. But yeah, I also thought the idea of the boosters was really funny, where it's just like it can barely get itself off the ground, but it's sure as hell gonna try.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I love
God
that.
loves a trier.
Yeah, I love that idea. And then the last one we have was Overlord, and Overlord was very interesting to me because it's very similar to my Maximilian concept.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, when it comes to drones, you mean?
Basically my Maximilian concept, the idea is that he summons nanobots and like Talon soldiers to do his dirty work. And I thought this was very cool for that reason, and just because it's a cool idea. And I think the thing that really got me sold on the idea of like a nanobot character was, I don't remember, it must have been late 2016, early 2017, before Orisa even came out. There was this like leak, quote unquote. We still don't know if it was real or not. Of this character named Ivan. Who?
The Greek one?
No, he was Russian,
wasn't he?
Russian, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was Russian, and he was like a very prim, proper, like rich man who had like black hair and a black suit with red highlights, and like gold and stuff like that, and he controlled nanobots. And I still stand by the fact that was that it was real, and that was the inspiration, or what eventually became Maximilian. And that's also why I think Maximilian will become a hero at some point, and also why I think he'll probably be some sort of summoner character, like with drones and nanobots and things like that. So
yeah,
I think I found the hero that you're talking about. Is his name Ivan?
yes, Ivan.
Was he a Russian defense hero? Essentially, a mixture between Sim and Torb. Yeah.
Yes.
I found him.
Yep.
I found him.
I'll
put it in the link.
Yeah, it's very Maximilian-like if you read the description.
because this was part of like a list of leaks, wasn't it?
Yes, there was
Yeah.
Doomfist, there was Bria, and then there's Ivan.
And Bria, I think, actually eventually became Hammond, if I'm being honest. But maybe that's just me.
No, she it looks like area denial using walls rather
Walls,
than
yeah.
Electrifying. Yep. Electrifying and walls. So
I don't know. I still feel like it eventually became Hammond, but maybe I'm going crazy. I don't know. I feel like they merged the idea of Wrecking Ball and Bria, but I don't know.
What does Wrecking Ball do that is like Bria?
The shields, the focus on shields, and the idea of like a small mechanic character, because Bria was apparently like very small, like smaller than Torbjorn. But yeah, that was sort of my 2 cents. But please, give us your insight on Overlord, Ian.
Okay, so Overlord is, of course, the mecha pilot, which everyone I'm sure is familiar with. If you're familiar with Demon, you're probably familiar with Overlord. And Yeah, like we can see from the images of him in the Shooting Star short that he clearly has drones as part of his like kit, like in universe. So of course drones are going to be part of his kit. And the other thing is that he appears to have like a permanently airborne mech.
Yeah,
which I think is really cool and really interesting, which is why I focused on the idea of a permanently airborne hero in game, which again was something that was very controversial, like in the comments I got and stuff. But I think it could be balanced. I think it could be done properly.
Yes.
Like in one way or another.
I think I understand where people's like concern comes from when you say like permanently flying, because you think
Mercy,
especially those
and how hard it is to hit her.
Yeah,
because she's small.
You think Mercy or Farah, think those two, and Farah Mercy in comparison, especially when you're on console and kind of the difficulties of balancing. Yeah.
Right.
But the important thing to remember with, I think this concept in particular, is that Overlord would be very big.
Yes.
Like, a lot bigger than both of them.
I mean, he's at least the size of Diva. So
yeah, exactly.
Or Mech, I mean.
So no, you're not going to be missing this character.
I feel like a flying character can actually work.
As long
it's
as
just a
they're
case
big.
of like, he'd have to be very bulky though, because then it becomes a case of, is he too easy to kind of knock out of the air?
Well, I mean, have you seen his mech? It's big, but it's sleek. So it's not. It's sort of like a nice middle ground, right? Where you still got to aim, but it's. But it's still going to take a lot of the damage.
Yeah, it like my idea. I think I gave him like 300 health or something.
It was something
like he was definitely the lowest health of all the tanks, but that was offset by the fact that he's going to be airborne, and I gave him like a mobility, like sort of like air like dodge, so you can just like shift to the side if there's like I don't know something big headed this way, and that of course had a cooldown.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, he's based on just like aerial like maneuvering, but he's bulky enough and slow enough that he shouldn't be too hard to deal with. But then like the whole play style around him relies on the drones, almost to the degree where he's he's playing like a different game than everybody else. Like he's above like an RTS,
which I
looking
love.
down, using drones to like help out his team and stuff while dodging fire from the ground. And I thought the idea of merging like an RTS and an FPS game in this way, where like one hero is just playing differently.
I love that.
Are you guys familiar with the game Natural Selection?
Yes.
Natural Selection 2.
I am.
The commander is like the top-down RTS and everybody else.
Yeah.
I love that, like, sort of like, it's not really asymmetric because each team has that, but the sort of like difference in play style depending on the role you are. And so that was like a huge inspiration for the idea of Overlord having the top-down sort of thing.
That's the reason I was initially very attracted to Doomfist. Because I love the idea of a character that does not belong in an FPS game, being in an FPS game.
That was really exciting to me too when I first saw how they were handling him.
So that was sort of, that's what I loved about that.
I actually think Overlord. I think my little summary of Overlord kind of like ticks the box of he tanks by distraction, akin to how Roadhog tanks by distraction. So Roadhog doesn't have any shields or ways of protecting his team, but he protects his team by calling all the attention onto him.
He's thick.
And it's the same. Yeah. He's a thick boy. He's a thick boy who annoys.
He is a thick boy who annoys. So yeah, that's the concepts. If you will give me one moment, I'm actually just going to. You don't have to do any sort of introductions or anything. I'm just going to stop the recording and do a new one because rendering after it gets about this long becomes really difficult for my computer. So I'll just splice them together. So one moment.
Okay.